Hey people, you found the Hillbilly Voodoo channel. This here is our latest project. It's the dumper from the dumpster. And you say, what the heck is a dumper from the dumpster? Well, the dumper from the dumpster is a powered wheelbarrow that we're building out of ground obtainium. And you say, what is ground obtainium? Well, that's the junk that we got laying around here on the ground. So far we've got an old lawn tractor that we've shortened up substantially. And today we're going to try to figure out how we're going to control the transaxle and make this thing go forward and backwards. Stick around, see what kind of hillbilly voodoo we have to come up with to make this thing work. Now, if you've been following along on this build, you know that last time we found ourselves an old boat cable that controlled the forward and backward shifting of a boat, or it was for the throttle, I can't really remember what, but we have managed to build a bracket. That's our transaxle down in there. That little lever there controls the forward and backward. So we built this bracket here that holds our boat cable on the end so that that boat cable can go in and out and push that lever. We don't know if this is going to work yet, but we know that it pushes the lever. So what do we got to do from here? Well, we need to figure out some way that we can control the other end of this cable, and I'll show you what I mean by that. So you see our cable there? Goes back and forth like that. I believe that's backwards and that's forward. Can't really remember. Won't be able to tell until I actually get this thing up and running. We need to figure out how we can move that back and forth without using a pair of vice grips to do it. Yeah, so that's the chore for today. Try to figure this end of the cable out. How we're going to do it, haven't quite figured that out yet, but I think I got a plan. I think I got an idea. Well, let's show you what that is. So I hope you can see here, but I've made a mark on this cable, and this is how far it travels. I would say approximately about an inch. So we need to figure out some type of lever that will go like this and move that cable back and forth an inch. Now these cables are not super stiff, and usually they have some type of sheath that goes over the top of them and then another rod that slides in and out that grabs onto that cable to make it stiff. So I don't have any of that type of stuff. I'm going to have to build something. So what I have come up with here is, just bear with me. So what I have come up with for a sheath for this cable is an old piece of fuel line. Now, that piece of fuel line will slide right over the top, like that. Put my light back up here. Grab on to the plastic and steel sheath of that cable. Now we need something that will slide inside of that will grab onto that cable, hold it on, and then we can connect our little lever arm thing to that end to make the cable go in and out. More or less what we're doing is stiffening up this inside metal cable and making it go back and forth. Now my idea here is to take this piece of steel, bore a hole, well sorry, it's not a piece of steel, it's a piece of aluminum, bore a hole through it, drill 2 holes through that I can use set screws to bite onto this steel cable. Then I will machine this down so that it fits inside that piece of fuel line and slide back and forth like that. We'll put an eye on the end or drill a hole through it and put a bolt in it. So that will be our mounting. So this aluminum piece here will bite onto that cable, slide in and out of here, and hopefully do what we want it to do. We really only need an inch of travel, so it's got to do about that much. Now I won't be able to film too much of the machining of this aluminum because my lathe room is super hot and my camera keeps crapping out. So I'll bring you back when I get this piece made, and we'll see if it's going to go inside of here and grab onto this. This is what I ended up coming up with here. I've slid our fuel line sheath thing over the top all the way up onto the cable housing, and I have machined our little thing that's going to grab onto the cable here. I've got 2 set screws on either side. I might have to trim those set screws down so they're not all sticking out there, hanging out. But this is going to slide on like that. Maybe I need to back those out a bit. Slide all the way up to there. Now we'll slide this piece up to there. Tighten up these set screws. Something to tighten them up really well with here. Yeah, use the right tool for the job, eh? Not just whatever's around. Haha, right, for sure. We got that tightened up there now. Now I'm going to crimp this sheath thing onto our cable so that we can grab on somewhere on here and hold it. And this will go in and out like that to control or to hold on to the cable so that we can have some type of handle on here for the forward and backward. So let's figure out something that we can use for a handle for the forward and backward. I'm thinking a bar like that with a pivot there and then a pivot there, and we'll mount the cable down like that, and the bar will pivot and it will pry it in and out like that. That's what I'm thinking. Whether it's going to work, I don't know, but that's what we'll try first, and we'll go from there. I built us a fork here, and this is going to be where the cable goes in like that. Little pivot here, so this will give you a little bit more idea of what I'm doing here. Pull back on the little lever, this pivot here stays and that pulls on the cable. So I got a piece of scrap steel here. Well, pretty much everything I have is scrap steel, so now I got to build some type of housing that's going to hold this so that it will pivot like that. So what I'm thinking is something to this tune here. Maybe not quite so goofy looking, but with a pivot, something like that. So that we can mount the cable, grab onto the housing of the cable back here somewhere. The cable will go through, and our little end that we built be like that, and then our little fork be like that. kind of getting it. Something like that. Well, that noise in the background there is my giant pack rat running around. So yeah, anyways, like that. So let's make this piece here. Yeah, we got enough of this scraps of steel that we can cut out 2 plates that are that size. That little thing. Yeah, that's what we'll go with. That sounds like a good idea. Guess we'll find out in a minute whether it is or not. So this is the shape that I ended up coming up with here. It's kind of like what I drew out. Cut it out and cut out 2 pieces, welded it together with a plate on the bottom with a bunch of holes drilled in so I can mount it down to something. Put our little fork in there, goes back and forth, so that's going to pull on the cable. Looks like this might be a good idea. Now my wife always accuses me of overbuilding things, making it way more beefy than it really needs to be. But 40 years of working with, well, let's put it to you this way. They could break anything. Didn't matter what it was, they could break it. So 40 years of fixing things for people that could pretty much break anything has led me to overbuilding stuff. So what do I need now? I need something that's going to grab onto that cable back here, but it also has to pivot and move a little bit because this is swinging in an arc and we want that cable to kind of swing in the same arc and grab onto the sheath of the cable. Now the only way I can think of doing this is to drill a hole through a bolt, run the cable through that bolt, and then take a nut and tighten it up onto the sheath of the cable. And then we'll drill a hole through here. That's the size of that bolt. The cable will be through. It will go back and forth like that. It will be gripped by the nut and hopefully move freely like this. That's my thought anyways. See if this is going to work. This is a grade 8 bolt. It kind of looks like I've annealed it at one point because it's kind of cooked. So hopefully it will be soft enough that I can drill a hole through. Maybe I'll machine the head off and machine the threads off on one side so that when I drill the hole through here, kind of does that. I don't know. See where we go here. We'll try to get the hole drilled through first, through this bolt without breaking too many bits, but that's about the only way I can think right now of grabbing onto the sheath of the cable and having it also pivot. Yeah. Well, let's try this out and see if it works. Well, I managed to get a hole poked through that bolt without breaking any bits. So you can see the hole goes through. That is the metal sheath that we put over the cable. And I took another nut and I drilled a hole through it and then took the threads out of the inside of the nut. So it kind of works as a saddle to hold that metal sheath. And then that nut there tightens up against that saddle, pushes it up against the inside of the bolt, holds it nice and tight. And then I also crimped this metal fuel line sheath thing that we made to the cable. So that was kind of not a very fun thing to do. It doesn't seem to want to crimp very well, so I may have to actually cut back the vinyl that's on the outside of the cable here and epoxy it at a later date. It seems to be grabbing okay now, but I don't know if it's going to last forever like that. We got our thing all assembled here. I machined down the head off the bolt and made it so that this pivots back and forth like that, so that the cable will flex properly. Kind of almost looks like a real thing. I'll stick you on the tripod here and show you how it works because I can't do it with one hand and hold it at the same time. So you see, you move the lever forward and backwards. Cable goes forward and backwards. This pivot's enough here that the cable's not binding up super bad there. Hopefully our little idea here will last a million cycles, and then by that point I'll have a different idea of how to build this thing so that it doesn't come apart, but kind of seems like it's going to do its thing for now. Yep. You look down in there, you can see our little cable moving back and forth, controlling our forward and reverse on the hydrostatic transaxle. Yeah, looks like it's going to do its thing. If you're liking this content, hit that subscribe button for me. Or better yet, hit that subscribe button for you. Then you can find the Hillbilly Voodoo channel again over and over. Watch us all the time because we're cool. Yeah. Well, maybe not cool, but you know what I mean. Do I want to be a big fancy social media influencer? No. I don't want to influence anybody. I want to inspire them. I want you to go out and build your own things. And maybe if you can't come up with your own ideas, well, you can steal some of my ideas because they seem to be working so far. Yeah, hit the subscribe, hit the like, do all that YouTube stuff. Well, now I think we need to figure out where we're going to mount this big giant control lever that we built here. It's kind of large, but you know, it's doing its job, so that's all that matters. Obviously, we got to mount it up there on that handle somewhere where it will be a good full to dual interface so we can operate this thing easily. So let's see about sticking it up there in a good spot that we can actually use it. So this is kind of where I'm thinking about mounting this. I'm going to have handles that come off of here, little hoops on either side, or maybe a hoop that comes all the way around like that. So that'll be a good place to put it. This is jacked way up in the air here right now, so it doesn't kind of give you a good representation, but when this is down on the ground, this handle will be right about your belly level, or my belly level. I'm obviously going to do something a little bit more ergonomic here, maybe bend it over or put a T on the end of it. It doesn't need to be nearly this long. There's like nothing there for prying power. Like a 3-year-old could do it. So that probably looks like a good spot to mount it. We'll drill a couple holes, bolt her down, and if it's not, then I guess we can find somewhere else to stick it. Projects like this, they're always fluid. Nothing is ever permanent unless it's working for you, I guess. If it doesn't work for you, then just change it. I guess the only thing in life that's permanent is a temporary solution that works. So yeah, let's stick this here. So this one here could be a no-brainer for some of you, or be a new trick to add to your bag of tricks. You got a piece of tubing or stock like that you're drilling a hole through that you want to bolt something through it, and it's a long ways from the opening to there, how are you going to get a nut on the back side of that bolt unless you drill all the way through and put a really, really long bolt in? Well, this is a little trick for you. Like I say, might be a no-brainer for some of you, might be a new learning tool. You drill the size of the bolt hole that you need where it's facing, and on the back side you drill a way bigger hole, a hole that's big enough that you can put your socket through. You put your nut on the inside of the socket, you put your socket through, you thread the bolt or the nut onto, well, there's the bolt sticking out of there now. I just gotta line it up. Line that up, put it through. Take your socket with the nut in the end of it. Thread it onto your bolt. Hopefully you can get it started. Got it started, obviously. Now, when you tighten that nut up, that's way inside of there, it's going to grab onto this side. It's not going to collapse your whole tubing as if you were to put a bolt all the way through. And you can use a tiny, short little bolt to bolt something down instead of a big, huge, long one. Just a little trick for you guys. So I was thinking I was going to use these motorcycle handlebars. They're just a set of low-rise bars, nothing special. I've got quite a few of them hanging around here because I happen to like ape hangers more than low-rise, so these end up just get chucked in the pile when they get changed. But after looking at them like this, I kind of thought different of it, because these bars are going to be right at that you-know-what poking level, and if there ain't nobody around to yell surprise when you get poked, well, then it ain't much fun. So I'm thinking that it's probably not a good idea, considering I usually end up backing into really sharp things and end up with marks that I don't really like. So I'm thinking that maybe a better idea would be to cut these bars in a way that I can turn them in and have a hoop that goes like this, around like that, so that there ain't like huge sharp pokey things sticking out off the end of this, and I can still use it as a handle. Yeah, thinking that might be a good idea. So I cut them here, turn it in, cut it here, turn it in, and I can attach it here, and then maybe another piece across here. So let's try that out and see if it's a viable solution, or whether I just wrecked a pair of rusty bars that were already. This is what we ended up coming up with out of those motorcycle bars. They don't look too bad, do they? Almost looks like they're supposed to be like that. Well, I guess they're supposed to be like that now. We cut them right here, put a slug inside, turn that bar from out this way to in that way. Nothing's welded in here yet, it's just kind of hanging there. I'm going to cap off the end here and put a bar out here, make that super beefy. Yeah, almost looks professional, like some type of factory in another country made it. Anyways, looks like a good handle. This machine is starting to come together, looks slightly less like a big pile of slapped together parts and more like it might be a functional machine. I'm pretty sure we're going to leave this video here. It's getting a little lengthy, and I need to go wander around out in the piles of ground obtainium and figure out what I'm going to use for the bucket on the end of this. So until next time, guys, use what you got to make what you want. Thanks for watching, and have a good day.